Welcome back to the next episode of Dare to Date Me. This is a show where we really just talk about love, dating, and everything in between. And there's so much in between now. I'm Marla.
And I'm Max. Today we're going to be talking about the whiplash of love, the love addiction or the love avoidance. Maria, please describe what these are, like love bombing, etc., because they're terms that are just unusual to me.
They're also new.
Yes.
Yeah. Love bombing is really just trying to win someone's affection early on. And a lot of times I think people think it's mostly from gifts, extravagant gifts and things like that. But a lot of times it can just be from a message that someone says. To give you an example, you don't have to look any further. We're a perfect match. Or even in the very beginning, I'm feeling such a strong connection. I just feel like this is right. Like, even though the timing and the proper pacing hasn't been there, just saying those things to make someone else believe that they're the one that should be chosen. That's love bombing, like love bombing.
What about as you're messaging back and forth and the good morning text is not just, hey, good morning, it's good morning, sexy, good morning, beautiful, good morning, I can't wait to see you because you're so gorgeous. It's not just, hey, good morning, how's your day? Do you have a day planned? Like, what are your thoughts on that messaging?
I'm all about good communication. I think that communication, first and foremost, when you're dating or in the dating stages, it does need to be consistent daily. It needs to be some kind of check-in. I'm not a big fan of the good morning text, especially if it develops an expectation that I need to receive this good morning text. I need to receive a good night text every day. It's more about the quality of the conversations that are going on. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of exaggerating features about someone's looks, calling someone sexy or beautiful or all of these things. There's plenty of time for those things to come into the relationship. First and foremost, if you're swiping on someone, evidently you're connecting because you find them attractive. So someone who needs to hear those words all the time, to me, that's a red flag because they need that validation. But more importantly, the messaging you send to others should really be about quality. Just like you said, I can't wait to see you. That's acceptable. That's acceptable.
Right.
Max and I just had this conversation this morning about text messaging. You connect with someone on an app, you start talking, you have minimal conversation, and then they start saying, oh my God, you're beautiful. Oh my God, you're so sexy. I love that picture of you. It just really amplifies your sexiness. I haven't even met you yet, and you already are going to a place where you know nothing about me. Nothing but a picture. FYI, how do you even know those are my pictures?
They're telling you right on the spot where their mind is, who they are. You have to pay attention to those things. They are red flags. Do they feel good? Yeah, it feels great to be told that you're attractive, but you should be able to feel that within yourself without having to hear that externally from someone else.
Well, that's what's so interesting is that when these texts come on Marla's phone, it's like, how many times do you have to keep saying this? These guys, it's like they have nothing else to say, and they think they're winning you over with this. It just makes it comical because it's very unrealistic. They don't have anything else to say, and it's like, dude, I know I'm good looking. I don't need to hear it from you.
Issues of abandonment from previous relationships and or feeling low self-worth. That they feel if they present themselves in this positive mannerism, that they feel, men and women, on this, we will never bash men or women. We're an equal opportunity basher in this dating app world, right?
Yes.
So men and women both do this. Is it the low self-esteem where the filters are being used, right? We've talked about it before. I couldn't use a filter to save my soul. I literally have no idea how to do it, don't want to do it, don't need to do it. I don't really care. Because when I show up, I'm showing up as me, the same person that you met, or, that you see. And so for me, I wonder, there's a lot of women out there that use these filters that add all sorts of stuff on them, and they look amazing. But in reality, when you wake up next to that person, when you finally cross that line with them, you don't look anything like your picture.
Right.
It really tells a lot. And I have a client recently that she's a beautiful woman. And a lot of her pictures, I feel like, can be intimidating to men because she's so attractive. And every one of her pictures, she has makeup on, she has her eyelashes done, and it's not like overdone. It's very nice and classy. But I told her, I said, I want you to upload a picture without makeup because I want you to show that you're real.
Yeah, I think that's important because with all these things that people are saying, if the men are thinking that they have to keep saying these little pet names to try to woo you or think that they're going to flatter you into bed, it's ridiculous at this point. And they need to have a conversation and let them know that they're actually worthy of getting to that place.
Right.
You know? And then you have people like me, the other ones that are like the love avoidance people and don't want to have anything to do with any of these apps. So how do you get somebody to understand that you have to make yourself open and still talk to people?
Yeah, past relationships, hurt and pain can really cause us to develop these protective measures that we demonstrate in our life, the walls that we build, because we don't want to let that person in to get hurt again. It's a natural, understandable feeling. And I always encourage approaching vulnerability gradually, starting small, not just in the first, in your bio, literally telling someone whatever your situation is. I had one client that, had overcome breast cancer and she wanted to talk about that on her bio. And I said, that's more private, intimate information. Right. Let's wait until someone has earned the right to learn that about you. So for someone who is avoidant, it is recognizable in the fact that they don't want to have those vulnerable conversations or they want to dive into work, friends not wanting to spend the quality time and have the deep conversations. But it really is something that you want to approach gradually because what's going to make that person who's an avoidant feel safe to share vulnerability is when they recognize that this person can handle a little.
Right.
And then share more.
And would you think that love avoidance would also be part of the category of the serial dater? Because they're just dating, but they're not getting emotionally involved?
Absolutely. It's kind of that, you can kind of have both. A person who's addicted to love and a person who is also love avoidant, where I love the high and the energy and of meeting someone new and of doing all the surface level stuff and the dinners and, going out and having the fun stuff. But then when seriousness comes and now we're wanting to talk about labels and what do you really think about something or what's your values, then they want to pull back and be like, oh, they're getting too close. So we can develop or people can develop that repetition in getting to know someone, having the highs and then dropping them to pull back and then getting right back in the cycle again of wanting to find someone new and just being in that serial dating cycle.
So do you think that's where the push-pull comes into play of heartache, right? It's the poor woe is me. I've dated 4 men, not me personally. I've dated 4, but I know a couple people like this. I've dated 4 or 5 men, right? And they're all great. They're all amazing. This is the one, blah, blah, blah. 3 weeks later, I'll call, hey, Maria, how was your date with so-and-so? Oh, I'm not dating him anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like that push-pull cycle that you just talked about. And I'm like, well, why? What happened, right?
It's definitely a rush too soon into something. You're feeling that high, that energy from the newness, and you just want to run with it. A lot of people even come in with saying, I love you, and I've never felt this way for anyone else before. And you're starting to get, you're hearing all the things that you want to hear. But it really is, in order to find like quality in today's modern dating culture, you've really got to take your time to vet. And the key is observing that behavior over time, not just in the first few weeks. Right. Because not only do you want to see that they can show up with, planning dates, and you want to see that they can be consistent before you emotionally get super excited about them.
Yep.
That they're truly engaged in the act of meeting and being with somebody.
Yes. Long-term effort, long-term consistency, not brief things.
Right.
So if you were to give someone 1 or 2 pieces of advice in the love avoidance area and the love addict area, what would you say to that person? Like, and here's why I'm asking. What would you say if that person is one or the other, or possibly both? We've crossed that, right? How do you break that cycle? Because I think that's something that has to come from with them. It has to come from within themselves, first and foremost. I think they have to be able to see that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So maybe first let's talk about what's the sign that you're doing it, and what's an opportunity for you to like move past it.
Yeah. You're actually describing a lot of what's in my dating program. The very first thing we do is really analyze the history of your patterns, your dating patterns. What are you currently doing? What is the breakdown? What is leading to these negative results? Now, what is it that you really want? If that's what you really want, we've got to now figure out, well, what does it take to get that? And a lot of times it's creating certain boundaries that are going to keep you on the path of a healthy relationship, like the pacing, like really vetting and watching for consistency, getting real clarity on what your values are so that you're really able to identify the behavior quickly.
Well, breaking a bad habit takes a lot longer than making a good one.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part, is being that consistency that you're talking about, because it's very easy to, oh, I'm going to do this, and then like, damn, he's hot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, that's part of the reason why it's helpful to have a dating coach, because you have someone who can remind you of the pattern,
Right.
someone that can help you stay accountable. Because you mentioned the fact that it's harder to break an old habit than it is to create a new one. Actually, research shows that you can create a new habit. You can start this new habit in 30 days. It usually takes about 120 days for that now to become automatic, right? Consistency. So we have certain strategies within my program that you're now building new habits every single day. First and foremost, starting with your mindset, getting clarity on what it is that you want, being able to recognize it. And this is one of the biggest one, I have to tell you, is really reflecting after every date. I talk about this with my clients, writing down, how did you feel during that date? Did you feel at peace? Did you feel like there was effort? Did you feel like they asked you questions to really get to know you? Did you feel rushed? Really getting clarity on the things that they showed you that you really liked, and clarity on what you didn't like, so you know to dig into the things that were concerns, right? All of this is helping you now analyze and vet the behavior, because the emotions, like we talked about, the high dopamine hits, wipes all that out. Your emotions up, overriding your logic. So having it written in a format that helps you to see clearly what is going on helps you to analyze what just happened.
I love that. So I love your program. How long do you work with someone after they've met their person, right? We talk about building all the right things to find your person, but I also think having you in their corner after they found the person to walk them through what happens next.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people out there are like, oh, I don't need any help anymore because I found my person, I'm good.
Right.
They're the same people that are going to boomerang right back to you in 6 months, boo-hooing.
Right.
Because now their person's gone, and and it goes back to the conversation we had earlier, Max.
Right.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah. Honestly, this is an individual journey. Like, there's not really a laid out formula that works for every single person. My initial program is 8 week long. It helps you to identify who you are, what you want, what your current patterns are, what patterns you need to change. You have me there to walk beside you, holding your hand literally daily. I mean, more of the work that I do with people is in the conversations outside of our sessions, right in the moment when something happens. Right. Let's analyze this. What was said? What were you feeling? Why did you feel that way? What would you have normally done? Well, what should you do to get the proper response? A lot of my clients do go into a back-end program once they find and attract the quality partner, because they do want to make sure that they're not just building the foundation, but they're learning how to establish these habits over time. And I'll be honest with you, one of the key traits you should be looking for if you're wanting a high-quality partner is a growth-minded individual, because that person is going to be the one who's like, oh, yeah, I also recognize that my old pattern is flaring up. Just because you're changing these patterns doesn't mean that they're going to happen and stick, right? I've been with my partner over 4 years now, and there's things that'll flare up, and we have to, but the recognition comes fast. It's like, oh, I'm reverting back to an old pattern. I don't want to do that. Let's stop. Let's reevaluate what's the proper way to handle this situation. Let's remember and come back to reconnect. Remember what the goal is. I know what your intention is. I know you didn't mean to hurt my feelings, you know, all of those kind of things, and really mapping out those steps. So I do have some clients who, even though they find partners, we continue to work together to, because really and truly the amount of values that you can have, it's hard to identify all of them in an 8-week period. Some of them you don't even recognize until a year in, and some of them you don't recognize until conflict comes up.
Well, I think for the next podcast, we're going to be talking about conflict.
Yes.
All right. Well, Maria, thank you for always bringing some incredible insight to our Dare to Date Me podcast about dating and relationships.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything out there that's scripted nowadays that says, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. It's so individualized. Tell me and tell us, how can our listeners find you? Because what you offer them is incredible.
The best place is on Facebook. You can find me there, Maria Lynette. And anyone who listens to this podcast and reaches out to me in my private DM, I'll give them a free session. You know, we can analyze what are some of those patterns that they're following that aren't serving them right now, what new patterns they need to implement.
Excellent. I love it. So again, thank you for tuning in for the Dare to Date Me podcast. I love the conversation about emotional whiplash is what I'm referring to it. I think it's really very relevant. Your insights have always been incredible. So thank you for joining us today. Please, everybody that's listening, reach out to Maria Lynette if you have any dating questions. Huge supporter and fan of the podcast, as we are of her as well. Thanks, everyone.